For these examples, we're going to be doing applications. I'm going to read it, and then we're going to take the information and digest what we're supposed to do. I also like to start with a drawing. So let's see what kind of figure we're going to be dealing with. And the question says, a rectangular room is 3 times as long as it is wide, and its perimeter is 64 meters. Find the length of the room. So it says a rectangular room. So first thing we do, let's just put a rectangular on the board. Okay? There. Then the room is 3 times as long as it's wide. Its perimeter. So we're talking about perimeter. So let's just write down the formula for perimeter. P equals 2L plus 2W. Formula like this, you have to memorize them. They will not be given at the exam, so you have to know this. Now let's see what information do they say about each variable in the formula, because we need to know something about P, about L, and about W. Okay? So it says the room is 3 times as long as it is wide, and its perimeter is 64 meters. So we know the perimeter is 64. Let's write that down. Now, and then the last question says find the length. Okay, so they said that the length is 3 times as long as is wide. Do we know anything about the width? Let's read it one more time to see if there's something given about the width. A room is 3 times as long as it's wide, and its perimeter is 64 meters. Find the length of the room. We just know that the length is 3 times as long as it's wide, but we don't know anything specifically about the width. When we do not know, we use X. And that's what you always want to do. You first want to find out what is the one that you have no idea. You don't know nothing about it. Now we know that the length is 3 times as long as it's wide. Well, 3 times, what is the width? We don't know. And when we don't know, we use X. Okay? Now we know something for P, for L, and for width. We're going to take this information and substitute it into our formula. So P is 64, 2 times the length, which is 3x, plus 2 times the width, which is x. Okay? So we're simply doing a substitution, the values into the formula. And now we just solve for x. 64, 2 times 3x is 6x, plus 2 times x is 2x. Combine like terms, this is 8x. We're going to divide by a on both sides in order to leave the x by itself. A divided by a is just 1, so I'm leaving with x. 64 divided by a is just 8. Okay, so we have found what the width is. But let's go back to the last question in the problem. It says, find the length of the room. And the length is 3 times as the width. So 3 times 8, you get 24. So you go here and substitute. The length equals 3 times the 8, 24. Okay? And now, for you to double check that you have the right values, you can always substitute. This is supposed to be 24, 24, and this is 8 and 8. If you add those 4 values, you should get 64. If you don't get 64, let me know. Okay, another example with perimeter. I'm going to read it. It says, the length of a rectangular room is 9 feet longer than its width. If the garden perimeter is 198 feet, what is the area of the garden in square feet? So a lot of stuff. But the first thing I got is we're talking about a garden, rectangular garden. So I'm just going to draw again my rectangle. Okay. Now let's see. We're talking about perimeter, and I think I also heard area. So it says if the garden perimeter is 198, what is the area? So I need to write my perimeter formula, but I also need to write my area formula. Again, formula like this, you need to know them by memory, by heart. You need to know them. So it tells me for here, I need to know P, L, and W. For here, I need to know A, L, and W, right? So let's see what information we're given. The garden perimeter is 198 feet, 198. We don't know the area. It says, what is the area? So that's X. Let's see one more. The length of the rectangular garden is 9 feet longer than its wide. And that's it. But what is the width? We don't know. We just know that the length is 9 feet longer. So again, the width, we don't know anything about it. So when we don't know, we write X. And the length is 9 feet longer than. When you have longer than, more than added to, you have to use plus. So X plus 9. Okay. So what we're going to do is, since we don't know specific values for the length and the width or the area, we have 3 unknowns. We're going to use the perimeter information to find out what is the length and the width. And from there, we find out the area. Okay? So I'm going to substitute my values into the formula. We need this guy. So L is X plus 9. And the width is just X. Now we're going to have 198 equals, we're going to distribute here. 2 times X is 2X. 2 times 9 is 18. And then 2 times X is just 2X. 198. We need to combine like terms. So we have 4X plus 18. And then we're simply going to subtract 18 to both sides, right? Combine like terms. Bring down the 4X we're going to use. This gives me 180 divided by 4. And I get 45. Running out of space. 45. Okay, now, remember, I need to know what the length and the width is. I need specific values. So I'm going to substitute. Let's write it right here. Make sure you don't get confused. Well, let's write it just right here. Okay, I know that the width is 45. And I know that the length is 45 plus 9. That gets me 54 if I'm not mistaken, right? I think so. Yes. So what I did here, I simply substitute at 45 for the X. So 45 plus 9, 54. Now I know that the length is 54 and that the width is 45. If I multiply those two using this formula, I'll get what the area is. So I have 54, 45. I go ahead and say, I don't know the area times 54, 45. I believe you get 2,430 feet square. Square feet. Let's write it down here. And make sure you note that when you're talking about area, you have square units, in this case square feet, and for perimeter it's just feet, linear units. So here you have 2 examples using perimeter and area. Those are your answers for these 2 examples.